It was a cold, gray morning in Seattle. Rain tapped softly on the window of a small apartment where Emily Parker, an 18-year-old girl, sat in front of her laptop. Her hands trembled slightly as she refreshed her email inbox for the 10th time. This was the day she had been waiting for, the day college results came out. She had applied to 12 universities across the country from California to New York. For months, she had dreamed about walking across a big campus, holding her books, smiling, starting her new life. Her mom, Sarah Parker, stood in the kitchen making coffee. She looked at her daughter and smiled gently. "Emily, you've worked so hard. Whatever happens, I'm proud of you," she said softly. Emily nodded, her eyes fixed on the screen. A new email appeared. Subject: Your admission decision. Her heart raced. She clicked. Then she read the first line. "We regret to inform you." Her heart dropped. She stared at the words, trying to read them again, hoping they would change. But they didn't. It was a rejection. She closed the email and took a deep breath. "It's okay," she whispered to herself. "There are still 11 more." But one by one, the emails came. Each one carried the same message. Each one took away a little more of her hope. By the 6th email, she stopped counting. By the 12th, she just stared blankly at the screen. She felt empty. All the nights she stayed up studying, all the mornings she skipped breakfast to work on her essays, it all felt useless now. Her mom walked in quietly. "Sweetheart." Emily didn't answer. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Mom, not even one." Sarah sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "Maybe this isn't the end, Emily. Maybe it's just the start of something else." But Emily couldn't hear those words yet. To her, it felt like the whole world had turned its back on her. Days passed. Emily stopped talking much. She would wake up late, scroll on her phone for hours, and go back to bed. Her mom tried to cheer her up with little things: pancakes in the morning, a walk in the park, but Emily's smile never came back. Her friends were celebrating their college acceptances online, posting pictures with captions like "Dreams come true." Emily just watched silently, her heart breaking a little more each time. She started believing something terrible. Maybe I'm not good enough. One night, while lying in bed, Emily opened her phone again. She scrolled through videos, trying to distract herself from the pain. Then she stopped. A girl on the screen, maybe 20 or 21, was talking about how she had failed college too. But instead of giving up, she started a small online business from her bedroom. Now she had thousands of followers and her own company. The girl's voice was confident, strong, full of energy. She said, "You don't need anyone's approval to start something great. Sometimes rejection is just redirection." Emily replayed that sentence over and over. Rejection is just redirection. Something in her heart stirred. For the first time in weeks, she sat up straight. Her mind started to race, not with fear, but with an idea. She opened her old notebook, the one she used to write down random thoughts and dreams. On the first page, she had once written, "Someday, I'll create something beautiful that people love." She smiled faintly. Maybe that someday could start now. The next morning, she walked into the kitchen with a spark in her eyes that her mom hadn't seen in weeks. "Mom," she said quietly. Sarah turned around, surprised. "Yes, honey. I want to start something, my own thing. I don't know what yet, but I want to try." Sarah looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "That's my girl." They sat down at the table. Emily began scribbling ideas on paper, things she liked, things she was good at. She had always loved making candles. It was something she did for fun, small jars with scents of vanilla and lavender. She used to give them as gifts to friends and teachers. Everyone loved them. What if she made candles again? But this time, not as a hobby, as a business. The thought scared her and excited her at the same time. She didn't know anything about business. She didn't have money. She didn't even know where to begin. But she remembered that girl's voice. You don't need anyone's approval to start something great. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her idea, names, designs, scents, everything. By sunrise, she had written a list of things she needed: wax, jars, wicks, and labels. She ran to her mom's room, laughing softly. "Mom, I know what I want to do," she said. Sarah smiled sleepily. "Let me guess, candles." Emily nodded. "Yes. I want to make candles. I'll call my brand Glowhaven." Her mom laughed gently. "Glowhaven. I like it." Emily hugged her. "Mom, can you lend me $200? I'll pay you back when I start selling." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Of course, sweetheart. But promise me one thing: never stop believing in yourself." "I promise," Emily said. As Emily looked out the window that morning, the rain had stopped. The sky was still gray, but a small beam of sunlight broke through the clouds. For the first time, Emily didn't feel like a failure. She didn't have a college acceptance letter, but she had something else: a dream, a spark, a plan. She didn't know it yet, but this small decision made in a rainy Seattle apartment was going to change her life forever. And as she lit one of her first handmade candles on her desk, she whispered, "Maybe I don't need a college to prove myself. Maybe I just need to start." The next few days were busy inside the little Seattle apartment. Emily had made up her mind she was going to start her candle business. Her mom, Sarah, gave her the $200 she had asked for. It wasn't much, but to Emily, it felt like a treasure. It was all she needed to begin. She spent hours on her laptop, watching YouTube tutorials about candle making. She learned how to melt wax, how to mix scents, and how to design simple but beautiful jars. She even wrote everything down in a small blue notebook she called her dream book. "Start small, but start smart," she said to herself, smiling. The first attempt. Emily cleared a small space on the kitchen table. She spread out her supplies: wax, wicks, glass jars, and tiny bottles of essential oils. Her mom peeked in. "Looks like a little lab in here," she joked. Emily laughed. A candle lab. But the first attempt didn't go as planned. The wax overheated and spilled. The kitchen smelled like burnt vanilla for hours. Her second try wasn't much better: the wick sank, and the candle wouldn't burn. By the end of the day, she sat on the floor, tired and frustrated. Her mom walked over with a cup of tea. "You okay?" Emily sighed. "I thought this would be easy. Maybe I'm not cut out for this." Sarah smiled. "Sweetheart, you're learning. Every mistake means you're one step closer." Emily nodded slowly. She wasn't going to quit. Not this time. Building Glowhaven. After a few more tries, she finally got it right. The candles looked perfect: smooth wax, soft glow, and a scent that filled the whole room. She smiled proudly. "Glowhaven," she whispered. "You're real now." She took photos of the candles on her old phone and made an Instagram page. Camera with flash at Glowhaven Candles. She posted pictures with short captions like, "Made with love and late nights. Let your home glow with warmth." At first, no one noticed. Her posts got only a few likes, mostly from friends. Days turned into weeks, and not a single candle sold. Still, she kept posting. She made short videos showing her process, smiling through the camera even when she felt discouraged. "Maybe one day," she whispered every night, lighting a candle beside her bed. The first customer. One evening, As she was finishing a batch of candles, a small notification popped up on her phone. One new order, $18.99. Her heart skipped a beat. She opened the app, shaking with excitement. Someone named Megan Lewis from Texas had ordered a Vanilla Dream candle. She couldn't believe it. "Mom," she shouted. "I got my first order." Sarah came running, laughing, and clapping. "You did it, sweetheart." Emily packed the candle carefully, tied it with a small ribbon, and added a handwritten note. "Thank you for believing in my dream." She smiled all night. To anyone else, it was just one sale. But to her, it was proof she could do this. The storm before the light. But success didn't come easy. Days passed with no new orders. Her Instagram posts got lost in the crowd. Emily started doubting again. She thought maybe the first order was just luck. She tried everything, changing pictures, writing better captions, offering discounts, but nothing seemed to work. Then one morning, her phone rang. It was a local event organizer. "Hi, is this Emily Parker? We saw your candles on Instagram. Would you like to set up a small booth at our weekend craft fair?" Emily's eyes widened. Yes. Yes, I'd love to." She spent all week preparing. She made 20 candles all by hand. She printed simple labels and made a small sign that said, "Glow Haven, handmade with love." The craft fair. On Saturday morning, she and her mom set up their tiny booth in the park. Other sellers had fancy setups, banners, and boxes. Emily had just her candles, a white tablecloth, and a shy smile. At first, people just walked by. Some smiled, some didn't stop at all. Her heart sank. But then a woman in her 30s stopped. "These smell amazing," she said, picking up a lavender candle. Emily smiled nervously. "Thank you. I make them all at home." The woman nodded. "They're beautiful. I'll take 2. That moment felt magical. Soon, another customer stopped. Then another. By afternoon, she had sold out. Her mom hugged her tightly. "You did it, Emily. You really did it." Emily's eyes filled with happy tears. "This is just the beginning, Mom. The big break." A few days later, Emily got a message on Instagram from a lifestyle blogger named Sophie Turner. Sophie had over 300,000 followers. She wrote, "Hi Emily. I bought one of your candles at the fair last weekend. It's amazing. I'd love to share it on my page." Emily's hands shook as she typed back, "Thank you so much. That means everything to me." The next morning, Sophie posted a photo of the candle with the caption, "Obsessed with these handmade candles from a young local creator at Glowhaven Candles. The scent is heavenly." Within hours, Emily's phone exploded with notifications. Orders poured in. Messages flooded her inbox. People from all over the country wanted her candles. "Mom," she shouted, almost crying. "We sold out again. I can't believe it." Her mom hugged her, both laughing and crying. In just one night, everything had changed. That evening, as Emily packed the last few boxes, she looked around her tiny living room now filled with candles, packaging, and boxes. It was a mess, but it was her dream coming true. She whispered softly, "They all said no. Every college turned me down. But maybe this is what I was meant to do." And as the warm glow of her candles filled the room, Emily didn't feel lost anymore. She felt unstoppable. The days after the viral post felt like a dream. Emily couldn't believe what was happening. Her phone buzzed non-stop with new orders. Emails came every minute. "Can you ship to Florida? Do you have gift boxes? Can I order 10 candles for my store?" At first, it felt exciting. She smiled, she laughed, she danced around her small apartment. But within a week, her excitement turned into chaos. Boxes filled every corner of the living room. Wax and jars covered the kitchen table. She hardly had space to walk. Her mom helped after work, but even together, they couldn't keep up. Emily worked late into the night pouring wax, printing labels, answering messages. She slept only a few hours, woke up early, and started again. Glowhaven was growing faster than she could handle. The first cracks. At first, small problems appeared. One customer wrote, "My candle arrived broken." Another said, "I didn't get my order." Emily apologized and sent replacements right away. But soon, there were too many complaints. Packages got delayed. The post office lost boxes. Some scents didn't turn out right. She began feeling tired not just in her body, but in her heart. Every time she opened her inbox, she saw angry messages. "Where is my order? This is bad customer service. I'll never buy from you again." Her eyes filled with tears. She wanted to make everyone happy, but she couldn't. Her mom walked in one night and found her sitting on the floor, surrounded by boxes and crumpled receipts. "Sweetheart, you've been at this for days. You need to rest," Sarah said softly. "I can't, Mom," Emily whispered. "If I stop, everything will fall apart." Sarah knelt beside her. "You can't do everything alone, Emily." But Emily didn't listen. She kept pushing herself harder. The message that broke her. One morning, after barely 2 hours of sleep, she opened her laptop to check messages. On top of her inbox was one that made her stomach twist. "You're a scammer. You take people's money and never deliver. I'm reporting your shop." Her hands froze. She read it again, her eyes blurring with tears. She had never meant to disappoint anyone. She wasn't a scammer, just a tired, overworked girl trying to keep her dream alive. She turned off her laptop and sat silently for a long time. Then she cried. Her mom heard her from the kitchen and rushed in. Emily buried her face in her hands. "Mom, maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I got lucky once, and that's it." Sarah hugged her tightly. "Emily, look at me." Emily looked up, eyes red. Sarah said softly, "You started this from nothing. You made it grow with your heart. You're not failing, you're learning. Every business has storms, but storms don't last." Those words stayed with Emily even after her mom went to bed. She sat in the quiet room, candles glowing all around her. Their soft light flickered across her tired face. Maybe her mom was right. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was time to rebuild properly. The decision. The next morning, Emily woke up early. She opened her notebook, the one she called her dream book. She flipped to a clean page and wrote 3 words. Start again stronger. She made a list of everything she needed to fix. Better packaging. Reliable suppliers. Help with shipping. A real plan. Then she did something she had never done before. She reached out for help. She called her friend Jason Reed, a college dropout who worked part-time in web design. "Hey Jason," she said nervously. "Do you remember my candle business?" Jason laughed. "Of course. The famous Glowhaven. Why?" "I need help," she said honestly. "I can't manage everything alone. I need a website, better photos, maybe some automation. I'll pay you when I can." Jason replied immediately, "Forget the payment. I'll help. You've already done the hard part, you started." Emily smiled for the first time in days. The rebuild. Over the next few weeks, Emily and Jason worked day and night. They built a clean, simple website where customers could order directly. Jason helped her connect online payments, track inventory, and organize shipping. Emily focused on improving the candle's new scents, better quality jars, stronger packaging. She even created a new line called the Hope Collection, with candles named Faith, Courage, and Peace. Each one had a small card inside that said, "Even in dark times, you can still shine." Slowly, things began to turn around. Customers noticed the change. Reviews improved. People began sharing her story again, not as a viral moment, but as a true journey of persistence. A small win. One evening, Emily was packing the last order of the day when she got a new email. Subject: Order inquiry, from Bloom & Co. store. She opened it. A boutique store from California wanted to stock her candles in all their branches. Her eyes widened. "Mom! Mom, come here," she shouted. Sarah came running. "What is it?" "They want to sell my candles in their stores." "Real stores, Mom." Sarah hugged her tightly. "See? I told you storms don't last." Emily laughed and cried at the same time. For the first time in months, she felt at peace. That night, she sat by the window with a candle burning beside her. The flame flickered softly, lighting up her face. She thought about everything: the rejections, the first sale, the sleepless nights, the anger, and the tears. It had all been worth it. She whispered to herself. Success isn't about never falling. It's about standing up one more time. And as the light of her candle glowed brighter, Emily knew this was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of something bigger, something real. Months passed, and Emily's life slowly began to change again, but this time, in a steady, calm way. Her apartment was still small, her days were still long, but she finally had order in the chaos. The candles were now carefully packed in boxes with neat labels, each one sealed with her signature sticker. Made with heart by Glowhaven. Her friend Jason became her right-hand partner. He redesigned the website, added product videos, and taught her how to use social media ads. He also created a new slogan that Emily loved. "You don't need to be perfect to shine." That line became the heart of her brand. The rebuild becomes real. Glowhaven started gaining loyal customers. People didn't just buy candles, they connected with Emily's story. They loved that the founder wasn't some rich company owner, but a young girl who had faced rejection and built something from scratch. Orders came in every day now, not thousands, but enough to keep her busy, comfortable, and hopeful. Emily no longer felt scared of failing. She had failed before and survived. Now she was stronger. One evening, while checking her messages, she noticed something surprising. Someone had tagged her business in a long Instagram post. She clicked it open and froze. It was a picture of one of her candles beside a hospital bed. The caption read, "My mom is in the hospital, and every night I light this candle called Courage. It gives me peace. Thank you at Glowhaven Candles for making something so special." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, This is why I do it." She wasn't just selling candles anymore. She was giving people comfort, hope, light. The big opportunity. A few weeks later, she received an unexpected email. Subject: Partnership proposal, from Willow Home Stores. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was from a popular home decor chain with stores across the country. They had seen her products online and wanted to feature Glowhaven in their small business spotlight. Emily's heart raced. She called Jason immediately. "Jason, they want to feature Glowhaven in stores. Can you believe this?" Jason laughed on the phone. "I told you, Emily. People love real stories. You're not just selling candles, you're inspiring them." Emily smiled. "I just never thought I'd get this far." Together, they prepared the biggest order she'd ever made: 1,000 candles. For 2 weeks, she and her mom worked non-stop, carefully packing every box, making sure every label was perfect. When they finally shipped the order, Emily looked at the delivery truck and whispered, Go change the world, little candles. The viral moment, again. When the candles hit the stores, people loved them instantly. Customers posted pictures online, talking about how they connected to the messages on each label. One influencer wrote, "These candles aren't just pretty, they feel like therapy in a jar." Glowhaven went viral again, but this time, Emily was ready. Her website didn't crash, her supplies were stocked, and her team, now 4 part-time helpers, worked smoothly. Sales doubled within a month. Her story was shared by news outlets and motivational pages. She even got a call from a talk show in Los Angeles. Emily Parker, the girl who turned rejection into a $1 million dream. She smiled when she heard that phrase. It sounded surreal. A full circle moment. One afternoon, while she was answering emails, another message came through, one that made her stop breathing for a second. Subject: Invitation to speak, Stanford University. She blinked, reading it again. It was from one of the colleges that had rejected her 2 years ago. They had read about her story and wanted her to speak to their students about resilience and entrepreneurship. She sat in silence for a moment. Then she laughed softly, shaking her head. Her mom walked in, curious. "What's so funny?" Emily turned the screen toward her. "Remember when they said no?" she said. Sarah smiled proudly. "Looks like life just said yes." The speech. A month later, Emily stood in front of a large audience at Stanford University. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked out at the rows of students. She took a deep breath and began. "2 years ago," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion, "I sat in my room reading rejection letters from every college I applied to. I thought my life was over. But what I didn't know then, was that those rejections were just redirections." The students listened silently, eyes wide. "I started making candles in my kitchen because I had nothing else. No degree, no plan, no experience. Just hope. And today, that hope became a business that brings light into people's homes." She smiled. "So if life ever tells you no, remember it might just be pushing you toward your real yes." The audience clapped. Then they stood and cheered. Some even had tears in their eyes. Sarah watched proudly from the front row, holding back her own tears. That night, as Emily returned home to Seattle, she sat by the window with a warm cup of tea. Her mom joined her quietly. "It feels unreal, doesn't it?" Sarah said. Emily nodded. "Yeah. But I think, this is just the beginning." Outside, the city lights twinkled in the distance. Inside, a single candle burned softly on the table, a Glowhaven candle, of course. Its flame reflected in Emily's eyes as she whispered, "You don't need to be perfect to shine." And in that quiet glow, the girl who once faced rejection after rejection now shone brighter than ever. 2 years later, the smell of fresh wax and vanilla filled a brand new building in the heart of Seattle. Sunlight streamed through the wide glass windows, landing on shelves filled with hundreds of handmade candles, each one stamped with a golden logo that read, Glowhaven Co. And standing in the center of it all was Emily Parker, the same girl who once cried over rejection emails in a tiny apartment. But now, she was the CEO of a $1 million candle company. A new beginning. Emily walked through the production floor, watching her small team pour, label, and pack candles with care. 15 employees now worked full-time at Glowhaven. Some were single moms, some were students, and some were people who had once struggled like she did. To Emily, they weren't just employees, they were family. Every few minutes, she stopped to chat, to help, or to smile at someone's progress. She wanted them to know that this business wasn't built by money, it was built by people who believed. A dream gift. Outside, her mom, Sarah Parker, arrived at the new building. She stepped out of her old car, holding a coffee cup, her eyes wide in amazement. Emily ran to greet her. "Mom." You're here. Sarah looked around, her voice full of emotion. I can't believe this, Emily. You really did it? Emily smiled and held her mom's hand. Actually, she said softly, I have something to show you. She led her mom outside to a small white house across the street, modern, cozy, with flowers in front and a sign that said welcome home. Sarah frowned in confusion. Emily, what is this? Emily handed her a small silver key. It's yours, Mom. I bought it for you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Emily, no, you didn't have to. Emily interrupted gently. You worked 3 jobs to raise me. You believed in me when no one else did. This isn't a gift. It's a thank you. Sarah covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. She hugged her daughter tightly, whispering, I'm so proud of you, my girl. For a moment, they both stood there, mother and daughter, in front of the house that symbolized everything they had fought for. Giving back. Success didn't change Emily. It made her more grateful. She started a small program called Light the Way, which donated part of her profits to help young women start small businesses. Every month, she visited community centers and schools, telling her story to students who felt lost the same way she once did. She always said the same thing. You don't need anyone's permission to chase your dream. The world will say no 100 times, but you only need one yes, and it can come from yourself. Her words touched thousands. People online started sharing her journey again, but now, she wasn't just the girl who made candles. She had become a symbol of hope. The magazine interview. One morning, a reporter from a major business magazine visited Glowhaven for an interview. They sat in her office, simple and warm, filled with candles and photos of her journey. The reporter asked, Emily, when you look back at those rejection letters, what do you feel now? Emily smiled softly. Honestly, she said. I feel thankful. The reporter looked surprised. Thankful? Emily nodded. If I had gotten into college, maybe I would have followed someone else's plan. But those rejections pushed me to build my own path. They taught me that sometimes life closes doors so we can build our own. The reporter wrote that line down immediately. It became the headline of the article. She built her own door, the story of Emily Parker and Glowhaven. The celebration. That evening, the Glowhaven team gathered for their 2nd anniversary party. Music played, laughter filled the room, and the smell of candles blended with the aroma of cake. Jason raised a toast. To Emily, the girl who turned rejection into light. Everyone clapped. Emily laughed and shook her head. No, she said, smiling, to all of us, because Glowhaven isn't just my dream anymore. It's ours. As the team cheered, her mom watched proudly from the side, her eyes shining. A quiet moment. Later that night, after everyone left, Emily stayed behind for a moment. The lights were dim, and dozens of candles flickered across the room, filling the space with soft golden light. She walked slowly, running her hand along the tables, remembering where it all began: the kitchen table in that tiny apartment, the spilled wax, the sleepless nights. She sat down, took out her old blue dream book, and flipped to the first page, the one that said, "Someday, I'll create something beautiful that people love." She smiled. "Looks like I did, huh?" she whispered. She closed the notebook, took a deep breath, and whispered again, almost like a prayer. "Thank you, for every no that led me here." Final scene, emotional ending. As the screen fades, the narrator's voice could say, Emily Parker's story is a reminder that failure isn't the end, it's the beginning of something greater. When the world turned her away, she built her own light. And now, that light shines in thousands of homes across America. Cut to Emily standing outside Glowhaven, the city skyline glowing behind her. She looks up, smiles, and says softly, "Sometimes the world says no, because life is waiting for your bigger yes. The screen fades to black. Soft piano music plays. Text appears. Inspired by true stories of hope.